So for series one of the traders questions is, what is the best way to identify good entries? Now, before we look into this, I will say that this is a very broad and open question. And in this video, I'll be highlighting a few gems that you should not be taking for granted as traders. So the first thing to remember here, in trading, there is not a single way to trade. There are many variations, different approaches, tactics, different ways of management, and much more. Now, what you really need to understand before you start trading is that trading is about finding a system, a proven system, and one that fits your personality. You really need to determine whether you're a patient person and may trade higher time frames, or are you more of an aggressive trader who might fit well with scalping? How do you control your emotions? Are you able to hold your trades overnight? Or do you like to get in and out of the market as soon as possible? These are the things that you really need to be considering. Just because someone else is using a system and it's working for them, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. There are tons of strategies, and most of them are probably great, but for the right person. The next thing that you must remember is that we're not trading to be right every single time. We're not psychics. We cannot predict the next move that will happen. So many people think that once they've got a trading system in place, then that's it. Rags to riches, but it doesn't work like that. Trading is about playing the game of odds. If you're trading, there are a few things that you really need to understand about your system that you're going to be using or are using. You need to ask yourself, is it proven? What's the win rate? Do you need to determine how best to use it? What stop loss size works best? What risk to reward ratio will you be aiming for? Because you must remember that trading is about repeating the same process over and over again, but in a systematic way that is proven. Because if you try to beat the markets based on guesswork, then you will forever fail. And I cannot stress this enough. Never forget that this is a numbers game, but it will only work if you have a proven system and you must be using that system properly. As an example, you can drive a VW Polo, and then if you think just because you can drive that, you can jump into a Ferrari and it's going to be exactly the same just because you can drive, then I'm sorry, you're totally mistaken. It's ludicrous. It will not happen. So never forget, this is a numbers game. Now, we need to look at something that's very important to us as traders, which is a trading plan. Now, I know a trading plan may seem as if we're talking about a piece of paper with a few rules on there and guidelines. It's much more than that, okay? I talk about this a lot because if you don't have a trading plan, then you really need to ask yourself why the hell you're trading. I mean, what's your approach to the market? Do you even understand that? You know, where are your guidelines? You need stringent guidelines put in place so that you can follow them. At the end of the day, if you're using a system that is proven and tested, then technically there should be a plan to follow. You need to know how and why you're entering the market, the signs you're looking for, the confluences that you need to warrant a possible trade. You also need to know that with the system that you're using, what's the best time to use it? Is it better in the Asian session or is it better in the New York session? I mean, don't just think that your trading system, because it's proven, is going to be universal. Know when and what markets they will work best in. You need to ask also, do you understand when to take profits? Is it even possible with the system that I'm using to trade at 1-to-1? Can you afford to take winning trades early? Ask yourself, do you understand your system? Do you understand that there is a way to trade it in a systematic way? There's also a way to trade it in a very wrong way. You know, there is no right or wrong way to enter the market. And that's why I said at the beginning, this question is very broad and open. There's not one way that will give you 100% results every single time. Now, I hope that you're starting to get the picture here. Your system that you're trading needs to be like a safety net to you, almost like a manual, like a guide. And of course, as I said, it's your trading plan. Otherwise, it would almost be like blind leading the blind. Okay. First, you need to remember that no one knows where the markets are going. Secondly, it's not our playing field. And thirdly, it's not about your entry, it's about management of your trade and how you managed it whilst being in the trade. Some people ask me, why is your entry spot on? Well, the simple answer to the question is because it's in my trading plan. It's part of my system. I take losses as well, but I don't deviate from what I'm trading and what's in my plan and the system that I'm using. Remember again, you need to be repeating the same thing over and over again. Take a note of this, okay? All we need in trading is a statistical edge, and you will only get that using a proven system, not just support and resistance, trend lines, and Fibonacci. So what is your edge? Well, this is the big question. What does it mean to have the edge? Well, in its simplest form, it's your trading system. It needs to be tried and tested and have a positive outcome in the markets you are trading. The biggest reason why traders fail is because they listen to too much hearsay, they follow signals, they watch all the hype on Instagram and allow their emotions to control them rather than follow a systematic approach. Now, there is no point trading support and resistance or Fibonacci's if you don't know how to use them correctly. Remember, they're tools and guidelines to help identify potential setups, not a signal to enter the market. But too many traders blame the market without even understanding the conditions. And to note, even if you're using a system that is working, most traders don't even follow it properly. So how do we overcome this? Well, we need to remove our emotions. This is not about battling the big players. The markets are like a huge shark tank. We just need to learn to survive. But the big question here is, how do you do that? Well, again, as I've stated a few times before in the past, or many times in the past, you have to learn to remove all emotions attached to trading and the outcome of your trades. But how do you do that? Again, we go back to this system that we keep talking about. Stop listening to other people and their conclusions of the markets. Yes, they may be right, but if you don't understand collectively why they're taking a trade, how will you ever get it right yourself? Trading looks simple, but it's only because it only becomes simple when you understand the elements. Now, there's no holy grail. Remember the process, it's called rinse and repeat. We need to learn to exploit the reacting patterns that left us as signs in the past. If trading involves a process of rinse and repeating, then clearly this spells out that not every trade will win. Again, your system you're using should be able to tell you what to expect with regards to wins and losses. And something that really bugs me the most, in life, there is no such thing as perfection. So why do so many traders believe this is possible to find in the trading world? Get rid of this notion. You're forever going to disappoint yourself. Remember, it's your edge in the market, the system that you're using, your understanding and systematic approach using your edge correctly is what makes you profitable. So now, what should your focus be? Well, your focus should not be to enter the market correctly or take a buy or a sell and let's see if we win this trade. Remember, this is not a 50-50 flip coin process, especially if you don't even know what you're doing. Your aim is to become consistent. This is your business. So you need to be asking yourself, am I taking it seriously? You want to make profits, but at the same time, not forgetting you may lose 50% of your trades, 40%, 30%. It all varies depending on the ability to master your system. But our aim is to becoming profitable and building a profitable business. Just like in business, we have to invest money. Sometimes our investments give us results and other times we lose out. But the point here is just because it didn't work out the first, second, third time, do you chuck in the towel and say, let's close the business, go back to a 9 to 5? I bet you don't. So in trading, why do you revenge trade? Why do you increase your lot size when you're taking losses? Continually switching strategies because you don't have a proven system in place. So how do you know when to enter the markets, let alone manage them? Think about that. Just because you followed someone's signals or you decided to enter a sell because it looked like one, it doesn't mean that it was a great entry or that the trade you just took was correct. There is nothing worse in trading than to take a trade that you have no clue why you're taking and then win it or lose it. Now, I know it sounds nuts, but let me paint a picture for you. You take a trade, you didn't really understand why you took the trade, and you win. Once you take your profits and walk away from that trade, it's always going to be a constant doubt in the back of your mind whether you're going to be able to repeat that process again. Why? Because you're not using a proven system. It was luck. On the flip side, if you lose your trade, you're going to be worse off because not only have you lost money, you don't have no guidelines or a real structure to follow. You're never going to know how to repair it, make changes, and adjust to become a better and profitable trader. So make a note of this today. If there is one thing you do, remember that trading is not a circus act. This is a serious business. So the secret here, how do you take your trades is determined on the proven strategy that you're using. That involves your entries, and obviously that's the reason for this presentation today. So before you focus on your entries, your lot size, your account balance, the amount of pips you just won, your signal provider that gave you the trade, you need to really ask yourself, do I really know what I'm doing? Do you know how to enter the markets? Well, remember, it's only you that takes the trades at the end of the day. So just to wrap this up, and I'll say this with so much conviction and passion, remember, if you're focusing on your entry more than you understand your system that you're trading, then you need to forget about it. Understand the foundation and the reason why you're trading. Remember that big why. Understand why you're trading, the system you're trading, and build your foundation off of that. Once you have a systematic approach to the markets in place, only then can you start to improve on your entries, your take profits, whether you know whether to take your trades early or not, or whether you need to let them run to your stop loss, break even, or TP. Ask yourself, does the system that I'm using have a statistical edge? You should know this. This should be your edge. If you're using a system that's proven, then you should be using an edge already. If that's the case, then that will eliminate the anxiety of when to enter the trade and whether you've entered correctly or not. Ask yourself, are you using risk management that reflects your system? Now, it's a very important question to answer because some systems may trade at 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 1-to-3, but you need to understand where you stand in terms of how many trades can I lose this week, this month, this year, to how many trades I need to win in order to make X, Y, and Z. Okay? If you really are using a system that's working for you, you're not going to question your entries and you're not going to be too concerned about them. You're going to understand the power of the system that you're using and you're just going to execute in a systematic way. And finally, does your system have a slight advantage over the rest who don't? And that's all we need to be doing in the markets. In order to become a profitable, consistent trader, we need to have that slight advantage over those that are not trading correctly. So the process to the whole to this and the question behind how do we enter the market is to simply exploit repeatable patterns with a systematic and proven approach. Once you have that in your arsenal, then everything else becomes easier. You cannot build a castle on sand. Make sure your foundation is strong and then start worrying about the small elements that build that castle.